Hello and welcome to the Yoga in Black podcast, where I have conversations with Black yoga and wellness leaders from across the country. My name is Tierney McDowell, and I too am a yoga instructor and the creator and host of this show. Each week, I'm joined by Black yoga instructors, meditation instructors, or holistic wellness professionals to have a conversation about anything under the sun and the moon. We'll talk about a large variety of topics with the intention for you as listeners to get to know us, get a feel for the vibes, and find your next yoga instructor if you're in search of someone to learn from. All episodes of the podcast are pre recorded, so if we talk about something that happened a while ago, bear with us. We're doing the best we can with the time that we got. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Yoga in Black podcast. My name is Tierney, and this week, our final episode, I am joined by Renee Lucas. So I'm not even going to talk anymore. Renee, go ahead and take it over. Tell us a little about yourself.
So I am Renee Lucas. I'm a certified Hot 26 yoga teacher. I got my certification last November, but I've been doing yoga off and on for about 6 years now. And over the past year or two, I've been super consistent, decided to get my certification. I also had to go all the way to Louisville, Kentucky to get that because I currently live in Huntsville, Alabama. And Hot 26 is not really a thing down here. Everybody loves the vinyasa flow down here. So they're adjusting to it, but I had to literally go out of town to get my certification. But I'm glad that I did because it's literally, I think I had like a good like spiritual awakening during the whole process. And it just made me change things. Like I literally got rid of like friend groups and revamped from the beginning. So it's been a blessing to even get certified.
That spiritual awakening during your training is real tea. Oh my goodness. Like I can't think of anyone that I've known to go through a YTT and not have some type of awakening throughout the whole process because it takes you so inside yourself the entire process.
It really does. Like when they say when you practice and are consistent with yoga, it really like creeps up on you and does something to you and it makes you change almost everything. Like your whole lifestyle changes. And that is the thing that I love the most about it.
Because I mean, most of us probably needed it, but I'm going to speak for myself and say I needed that change so bad because I got certified in spring of 2015, and it was right at a point where I had experienced a breakup, was experiencing a little bit of homelessness, and
Mm-hmm.
just so much was going on in my life. And then I ended up getting a job down here in Texas right after I finished my YTT. And I'm like, see, I needed this. I needed this not only for me to, teach, I wanted to teach really badly, but I needed this for me on a personal level.
Right.
I wish I had known that ahead of time so I could have been a little bit more prepared for it, but then I don't know if I would have done it if I knew because I would have been scared.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. But you said it's Hot 26. Is that similar to He Who Must Not Be Named?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We don't use the name, but it's the same exact thing.
Like he's gotten Harry Potter levels of infamy now. It's like, yeah, you're akin to Voldemort, sir.
Yeah, and I always say that it's so sad that the whole story came out to be what it is, but the practice is so amazing. Like it's a
Yeah.
full body gentle workout, and I mean it's easy to fall in love with it.
It
And
is.
even
I
I,
did. Yeah.
I would even say like it's easy to like. I really don't want to say master it because yoga is like an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
But once you get all the poses and you do them correctly and you get the flexibility that's needed, it makes you feel like, okay, yeah, I got this,
Yeah. Like the high that comes from that class is intense because that's where I kind of got my start is in a hot yoga studio that did, that same style. They just call it hot, and they just dropped the B word.
Right.
But it was really fun. Like, and plus it was my introduction to yoga, so I enjoyed the consistency of the sequence, how it's the same every time you go in, so it helped me learn the postures. Because otherwise, if I had jumped into a vinyasa class, and I did take a handful here and there, but I really gravitated toward the 26 postures because I
Hmm.
needed to know what they were. I wanted to understand what they were, how they felt before jumping into something else. Because I swear that first vinyasa class, I was like, what the hell is happening? Why my leg is supposed to go where? Oh, on an inhale. And then, I got to move on the exhale too. Oh my goodness. And now all I do is vinyasa. And I'm like,
Right, and
I
that's the
gotta,
same. That's the same for me. Like at first, I did not like vinyasa. It didn't stay the same, and then I always felt like we are moving too fast. So like right once you
yeah.
get into the posture, you're already on to the next posture. So how can you really feel anything?
Oh,
But
yeah.
I will say that I'm slowly moving into vinyasa. Still, I don't want to say that I don't like it anymore, but I'm warming up to it. It's
Yeah.
a better say.
And I think that's why I ended up gravitating towards Ashtanga, because it's still vinyasa, but you hold the postures for a little bit longer.
Exactly.
And man, the discipline for that practice is so hard for me because I have a very short attention span. And if I'm forgetting to count my breaths, I am forgetting what posture comes next.
Right.
But it's such a great challenge for me on so many levels. So like, and it combines those two principles. So Ashtanga is a set sequence, very similar to a hot 26, but there's that
Mhm.
vinyasa aspect where you can connect breath to movement, but you're taking it in a slower pace. So now I know the postures and can put them in sequence and get that breath to movement kind of thing going on. I feel like it's the best of both worlds at some point.
Oh yes, definitely. It really is.
I need to get back into
I
it.
when I first got started, when I first got started, I literally saw YouTube videos of the Ashtanga practice, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm not flexible enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. That self doubt started coming in,
Yeah.
and then I was like, let me just let me just try some different ones just to see what resonates with me. And that's how I found the Hot 26. And now I feel more comfortable going into the Ashtanga because some of those postures are in the Hot 26.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I think that's what really sparked it for me, is like I knew what was going on, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot
Yeah.
of it. Like, oh, this feels familiar because I know these already from doing those 26. Um, Man, but the way that your practice evolves throughout life is so indicative of just life itself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Have you had that same experience? Because I started out really energized and chasing postures, and doing a lot of hardcore vinyasa, trying to get into inversions and arm balances, and now I'm like, give me all of the bolsters, give me all of the pillows. I want all of the restorative yoga. What's that experience been like for you?
So for me, I focused, well, after I finished my training, one thing that my teacher trainer told us before we graduated was find what resonates with you and slowly move into everything else because you got to start with one thing at a time. So that's why I say that, like, I'm always going strong with the Hot 26. But then again, along with that, with my own classes with Tranquil Yoga Studio, which is my business, some people don't like to do the heat. So I call it gentle 26. And then sometimes, like, if people say that they like kind of like a flow, because, the Hot 26 is not really a flow, it's kind of like a
Yeah.
reset.
Yeah.
That's when I try to like utilize like transitioning, flowing, but also still doing the Hot 26 and just slowly moving into it and learning as well. And for my own practice, I tend to do what feels good for my body, especially like in the morning. I try to do my own practice for like a good 20 to 30 minutes in the morning Or if I can't get it in the morning, then I'll do it right before I go to bed, and I always have the best sleep. Literally the best sleep.
Oh my goodness. I know, because I teach a couple classes in the evenings now, and man, I come home and as soon as that little bit of energy that I have left gets drowned out, I am so tired and ready to go to bed.
Yes.
So, and you said you're in Huntsville, Alabama?
Yes, I am.
What's the yoga world like down there? Because I've never been. I have family in Alabama, but I can't remember where.
Oh. Well, the yoga community down here, okay, so this is like how different it is. So I did my training in Louisville, Kentucky, and that is a big yoga community up there. You can barely find people that don't do yoga up there. But then again, when you come down here to Huntsville, because we are still getting like a facelift when it comes to the area, and we're still bringing in newer stuff from bigger cities and stuff because we're growing and all that. We're the rocket city. So it's pretty small. So when I first got my first teaching job at a studio here, it was pretty easy because there's literally only 3 studios that's like popping out here. Literally only 3. And that's just in the Huntsville, Madison, Decatur area. But once you get in and you start networking and getting into the industry, showing up for the yoga industry, especially for Black people, it gets easier from there. Because when I started finding like different places to teach and things like that, it came from networking with other teachers that I either have taught with, or they came to my classes, or I went to their classes, and then it kind of evolved from word of mouth. And now that I know as many teachers as I do, it's like so easy to find a job, like anywhere and everywhere. And then the best thing about down here is that everybody's willing to collab.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's so good, because that's important.
It really is. A lot of people, I find, like some of the people that I graduated with in Louisville, Kentucky, like they say that it's hard to collab with other people because they're doing their own thing, or they just want to like just team up on a class or a workshop. And I'm like, wow, that is completely different down here, because down here people it's like, hey, you're a yoga teacher, you got a following, I'm a yoga teacher, I got a following, so let's go on like a nature trail and do like a sound meditation out there or something, like we're super creative down here.
I love that. That makes me feel really good because it can get competitive
It really
this
does.
way, because it's like, as instructors, as an instructor, I always tell my students, this practice is not a competition with you and anyone else. It's not even a competition at all. Let's just do the practice and you find your flow. And that goes
Right.
with finding an instructor. It's like, if you vibe with somebody, fantastic, vibe with them. If you don't vibe with a particular person, there's nothing wrong with that. Vibe with the person you vibe with. But that doesn't, mean anything less about the teacher that you don't vibe with, because there's going to be
Exactly.
someone that works with them too. Um, and it's in Dallas, there is a lot of collaboration that does happen, which is awesome, but there's still also that competitive, aspect of it, especially with trying to find jobs. It's not like there aren't plenty of studios here, but there's still let me say this. I think there's more teachers than there are studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like cranking out, YTTs all over the place, producing new teachers over and over and over and over. And especially those that, like me, that are, doing this kind of full time, it can get a little challenging to find places to work because everyone's trying to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out that I don't want to sound negative because that's not in my personality, but it is important to say, because sometimes a lot of people lose track of what yoga actually is supposed to be.
Yeah. And I
I
really
like,
wouldn't consider that negative. That's just stating facts.
yeah,
Not all facts are positive.
exactly. Like, and I'm an Aries, so like I try to be like super
No
direct.
way. When's your birthday?
March 22nd.
April 13.
Yes.
Yes.
We both Aries. I like that.
I love it. I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you.
You're good. No, like the thing that I wanted to say was that yoga, a lot of people tend to forget that it's a endless journey. Is there is no ending point to it. It continues throughout your life. And yoga is not just a physical practice, it's a mental practice as well. And a lot of people do not focus on the mental side of it. And I, from my own experience, just using myself, and everybody's journey is different. But for me personally, when I started consistently doing yoga and then I went through the process, got my certification, along with that, I started changing my lifestyle. Like I remember when I was only drinking soda, and juice. And now I got into like herbal teas. And now my water intake then went up because of the fact that since I do hot yoga, you got to be hydrated. So that helped me with my water intake. And then along with that, I started making my own teas and I'm working on my herbalism stuff. And I started gardening too. And then along with that, I started like my whole spiritual journey. Like I'm sitting literally in front of my altar and I got like my crystals and my plants and all of that stuff. And it literally transforms you. Like you end up becoming healthier. And then also, I have this little book that I've been working on. I also started my own self development journey. This big old book right here, okay? I literally had to start from scratch, like understanding what my boundaries are, what my morals are, what my true values are. Like I have sat up late at night at like 2 in the morning, literally like talking to myself, really trying to understand like what are my skills? Do I have any type of hobbies and things like that? Just regular stuff. Like really like going deep into it in a introspective type of way. And also being really honest. And a lot of people don't like to do that because everybody think they're perfect. You know what I mean? And along with that journey, like I figured out what my triggers are, what my negative personality traits are, what my positive personality traits are, and it helped me become more me. And then when I figured all of that out, and I used a whole year to really like get in tune with all of this stuff. And once I figured that out, like I literally revamped my whole friend circle to make sure that people in line with me, because again, it's about energy too. You want to make sure that you got the right energy around you. And it just kind of kept evolving. Even my room looks different. Like my decorations and everything is just different. So like I really wanted to like, really have some words to say about like the path of yoga. Like it's not just like, oh, let me get toned and it's healthy and all this and that. Yeah, all of that is great, but that's not the icing on the cake.
At all. It is not even close. Like the real good stuff for me has always been the introspection, the
Mm-hmm.
the communicating with myself a little bit more, because I realized I was completely cut off from myself for probably decades at that point. Because yeah, I got
Yeah.
introduced to yoga when I was in my 20s, even though I did have some time with it in high school, but it was for a gym class. I didn't know nothing about it. For
Yeah.
real, I was
Yeah.
just trying to get my gym credit. But yeah, once I got into my 20s, life hit me hard. And it wasn't until I got into yoga where I really started to understand why I respond to certain things the way that I do, why I behave certain ways that I do,
Mm-hmm.
so many things about myself that I was completely closed off to because I never gave myself the time to just sit and be with myself. And that's
Exactly.
what I love the most about yoga is that, and not to mention, because it's connecting you so much with yourself, you're able to connect yourself with everything else around you. Like that
Exactly.
whole unifying aspect, that literally what the word yoga translates down to, is so broad, and it's, can be whittled down to the self or everybody else. It's
Mm-hmm.
just it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm right there with you with the whole crusade to make sure that folks know it's not just asana. It's not just asana at all. Asana is a very small portion of this whole bigger picture.
Yeah, I
And I
think
want you to see this big old beautiful picture.
Yeah, I think other places, like I feel like the traditional places that yoga is being taught, like India and some parts of like Japan and China and places like that, like I feel like they stick to the traditional like understanding of yoga, but then again when you come to America, again, not being negative, like it's like, okay, forget all of that, forget the spiritual side of it, and just be like, oh well, it's exercise, and everybody always gears it towards exercise, and it's like, yeah, it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because, you know it,
That just happens to be a very, like, a side effect. Like, you think of it as one of those pills or whatever. And you think of all
exactly.
those the long laundry list of side effects that they just breeze right through. The physical benefits are one of those side effects that isn't necessarily the main focus, but definitely great because it helps
Hmm.
you in that entire process. Because I'm I'm not even gonna front. If I were to just start a meditation practice cold turkey, like, I don't work out, I don't do anything besides hunch over at a desk every day, typing my little heart out, I don't think I'd be able to physically sustain the amount of strength and stillness needed to hold a meditative posture
Hmm.
without a whole lot of support. And so for me, the asana is a way to make sure that my body is capable of doing that so that I can sit in that meditative stillness for a long period of time without being fatigued, and
Hmm.
stay, alert and aware of the whole process. Because I used to fall asleep in meditation because of that. It's like my body
Yeah.
would be so tired from just life and trying to be in this still posture, I'd fall asleep.
Right. The hardest thing for me with meditation, because a lot of people don't understand that, like, a lot of times you're meditating wrong. Because, like, it's not just about trying to quiet your mind, because technically you can't really quiet your subconscious because it's your subconscious that's doing all of that. It's
Yeah.
basically trying to control, like, the thoughts that come through,
Yes.
and understanding while being in your subconscious that you know what you're doing, and you're sending, it's also like a brain type of thing. It's a brain game too, because you
Yeah.
do have electricity up there, and you
Yes.
have neurotic, not neurotic, but the neuron transmitters that are sending messages, and those messages are controlled by your thought. So
Mm-hmm.
when you meditate, it gives you a chance to control your thoughts and things. I was reading, well, actually, I was looking at a documentary from Bruce Lipton. He's one of my favorite guys that I like to listen to. He's like a neuroscientist, and he literally says that, like, even saying affirmations every time you get up in the morning, look in the mirror and say 10 to 15 or even just 3 affirmations, and really focus on that and focus your energy on that, that can reprogram your thinking for the whole day, you know?
The power of words and thought connected it's crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that you brought that up because I have a real world example of this. I literally just had like 4 bug bites that I got the other day that were annihilating my legs. I've never itched so bad in my life, but because I was in no place to scratch, like, because I don't like to do that, that irritation of the skin, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel good to me, even though the satisfaction of the, scratching the bug bite is there. So in my mind, I'm like, my legs do not itch, my legs do not itch, my legs do not itch, and just started chanting it over and over and over. And the next thing I know, itch gone.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's how powerful the words are.
if that isn't a testament to how powerful this stuff can be, like it can overpower mosquito bites. Texas mosquitoes, mind you.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Like, a lot of people say, like, scientists are coming out with studies, like proven studies that, like, if you think negatively in your mind, or if you think that you're sick, you will make yourself sick, even though your body is not sick. Like, you can get yourself sick, or
That part.
if you think that you are going to get cancer because like two people in your family had cancer, then you can possibly get cancer because you're thinking it, and those transmitters are sending those messages. So now your body, which is functioned by the brain, is going to think that you got cancer. And then all of a sudden, like, you might actually for real get cancer, you know?
It's crazy what the mind can do.
Yeah. And I always tell people that, like, I'm an introvert. Well, I'm an ambivert at heart, but like my stronger trait is introvert, given the situation. But I always tend to tell people that like being quiet is not a bad thing. Everybody seems to take it as like, oh, you're weak and you can't do this, you can't do. No, being quiet is the best thing you can do, because when those words come out, it can set off a chain of effects, not only for your brain, but for your body, for your manifestation. Like if you're trying to go towards a dream, like it can literally throw a monkey wrench in there. So you got to be very careful with your words. Like speak slow, because your words can really have, like, it can wreak havoc on your life. And a lot of people, they don't think like that. You really have to do some deep digging. And that's where the introspective thinking and being with yourself, going to the park, having time for yourself and really getting into your mind and understanding certain things, especially if you have trauma in your life, like from childhood trauma and stuff. Like you really got to dig deep and really figure out, write it down on paper. That's what I did. And figure out like healthy coping mechanisms for it. And once you figure out like, okay, I know this issue is coming from here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is my coping mechanism. Now you got to figure out, okay, like, is it a healthy coping mechanism, or is there something else you can do? And then you can move to reprogramming that so that it doesn't lead down to other generations, because your mind, like things that you think, can be a hereditary or generational curse if you don't watch it.
Yes.
And that's why I say, like, I don't have any kids yet, but like I do want to install that in my kids, a part of like the morals and values and boundaries that I want to teach when they're growing up, in those those critical times when they're growing up. Like they say, it's like the first 7 years of a child's life that's the most critical.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that is super, super important, because it really can be dragged down to different generations.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Like I'm extremely eager to see where the kids of today end up, because their parents that are our age, are a little bit more enlightened on these things and able to instill in them so much more than we may have had the opportunity to, because
Mm-hmm.
it's no fault to our, those that came before us. They didn't know. They were doing the best with what they had, but now that we
Right.
have access to all this information, we're able to do a little bit better, and it's really cool to see where that's going to go. So tell me a little bit more. You said you have your own studio.
I don't have my own studio yet. I'm renting a spot. It's like it's called the Mill Cat, and there's a bunch of different like practitioners. That it's for independent practitioners. So like we would, if there's like more than one yoga teacher, then we will book certain times that we'll have it for like an hour. And the best thing about it is that she only charges $20 for an hour.
That is
So
unheard of.
I know, right? That's why I was like, when I heard that, I jumped on
Hold on
it.
tight to that. Hold on with a vice grip. Don't ever let that go until you're ready to get your own space or acquire that one.
Yeah, I've been making plans to get my own studio at this place called the Low Mill. It's kind of like an arts type of place, And there's like different studios in there where people do pottery, they do the stained glass stuff and all of that. And I thought that that would be like the perfect place to start as a studio, because like you can get like 1,200 square feet for like $400 over there.
Nice.
And it's and utilities are included, and the best thing about them is that they have their own foot traffic, and they have like their own little flea markets and like music on the dots and stuff.
So visibility, yeah, because it's always
Exactly.
location, location, location.
Exactly. And then it's literally like people in my niche are there because it's like artsy type.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's awesome. So how have things been going with this whole endeavor?
It's been going good. I have been researching a lot on like business credit and stuff, just to get like started and stuff. But then again, I am about to pay off one of my credit cards, so I'm like, okay, and it already has like a really high limit on it. So I'm like, okay, so I only need like 5,000 to get everything started, because what I was gonna do is just pay for the whole year, and then that would be my sink or swim year. So I don't
Yeah.
have to go into debt even more. Because I could pay off 5,000, but I don't want to accumulate more debt.
Truth. Big truth. That's
Yeah.
essentially what I did when I started teaching full time. Is I took a little money out of my 401k when I resigned from my job, and basically covered all of my expenses for about a good 8 months, I think it was. And I'm like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, sink or swim here, figure it out. Coronavirus. Like, okay, well, at least your bills are paid.
Exactly, right? Corona messed up a bunch of stuff for everybody. But then again, I look at it as a blessing in disguise, because look how many creative moms are out here. They left their job, and then Corona like did all this crazy stuff, and now they have their own business, and they didn't even think that they could do that, and they have like 3 or 4 kids, and a husband. So like it's a blessing for some people.
Exactly. This exists because of the coronavirus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I would not have had the time or the mental capacity to even think about this.
Yeah.
Here we are, almost 3 years later. It's crazy. It's almost been 3 years.
I know, and we're like still going through it, kind of.
Oh, my goodness. I wear my mask everywhere. I don't care what anybody says. I'm still doing it because I don't have insurance. I literally cannot afford to get sick. So being down here and folks just don't really care. I'm still showing up full mask every time. Like, you don't do that. I'm like, I do.
Right.
Unless you're gonna pay my medical bills.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I got like over 100 masks now. I got the little gloves. I'm looking like a nurse. And then and then the best thing about it is like, because I got into herbalism, like I'm getting ready to take this herbalism course. Like
Nice.
I know that like drinking hibiscus or whole cloves or turmeric and ginger, like mixing some of those things, like that can literally like kill cancer too. You know, and like bacteria and free radicals in the body. So like if I ever did, God forbid, me get corona, I'm drinking whole cloves.
Like for a good, I think that was part of my routine for a good 6 months, is that I would make a tea every other day that had um, garlic, cloves, cinnamon, and what else was it? Oh goodness, I'm forgetting. It was a whole concoction, and it was so good because it tasted kind of like a chai.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not had coronavirus this entire time.
Oh, see, you're one of the lucky ones. I haven't had it either, so we just lucky, girl.
The only thing I could say is I may have potentially had it when we didn't know it was coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
So it was back in like October of 2019. I got
Mm-hmm.
really sick, but I got tested for flu negative. Didn't have pneumonia. They didn't know what it was, but it was definitely a respiratory something. They're just like,
Right.
take Mucinex, you'll be fine, blah, 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 blah. I was laid up in bed for so long, barely breathing properly. I'm like, I don't know, but whatever. But ever since then, never had a problem.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
And
And you know what?
the cloves and the garlic.
Yes, girl. And you know what? Like, I feel like this coronavirus has been out for going on almost 4 years now, only 2 months away from 4 years. So I'm like, okay, if you haven't had the virus, then that tells me that you're clean, first of all, and you're doing something right when it comes to what you're eating as well. Because like during that whole time, I was going ham on like grapefruits and lemons and limes, and just making sure that I put stuff in my body that's going to protect me from a potential virus. Because then again, you could breathe outside and potentially get it.
Exactly.
So I'm always about those preventative measures.
Big time, big time, big time.
Okay, so I do want to address, again, not being funny or anything like that, but a little bit of, I don't want to say racism, but I would like to say possibly like passive aggressive microaggression in the yoga community for Black women and brown women. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because this was like super important when I was in teacher training, because the training was great. Like the information was great. Like, even the traveling up there, because it's like 4 hours away from here. And I was going every other weekend.
Oh my goodness.
That's how dedicated I was, girl. I was willing to go out of town.
Hell yeah. That is, well, you know what? I did the same thing. My teacher training was an hour, no, about 2 hours away from where I was living at the time.
Oh, that ain't bad.
Yep. There and back every weekend.
I did want to say that the training was great. The whole process was great. Like the autonomy and like the things we learned was great. The group was, oh gosh, I don't want to say bad or anything, but I do want to say that like you can tell. First of all, I was the only Black girl in the room, so I don't want to say that I felt like uncomfortable, but me being an Aries, like I command the room in a way. So I went in there and I was like, I'm about to learn what I need to learn. But then again, every time I would ask a question, my teacher would kind of pretend like she didn't understand. And this is coming from a white woman, and but anybody else says anything, like she understood what they were saying. And I'm like, okay, so this is like kind of like a passive aggressive, like kind of thing, because like sometimes I feel like, and this is not true, but it's just how I felt at the time. I be feeling sometimes like some fair-skinned people don't want us in that industry, even though it's a brown industry, because it originated from India. Like it's theirs, so it's kind of like, okay, well, now it's in America, and you feel like, I feel like they're protective over it. If you're not fair skinned, then they're like, oh, you're not as good as so and so, or you don't know as much as so and so, or you can't do this, you can't do that, and then also, I'm gonna go ahead and say like slight prejudice against like heavier set people.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I really hate it when people say like, oh, I'm too big to do this. Like, no, I have been taught by heavier set teachers, and they can do yoga better than me, and I'm skinny. Okay, so the weight doesn't matter. It does not matter if you're big or not. And I want to make that very clear in the Black community, because I hear that even down here in Huntsville. Oh, I'm not that flexible to do this. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, like,
I don't want to lose a weight, a certain amount of weight before it gets started. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Like as long as you're consistent and you're actually trying, losing the weight is going to come, toning is going to come, and then everything else is going to follow. But you got to go in it with the right intentions. You can't be going in there saying like being like low key envious of the skinny girl in front. Like in every single class that I have, and because a lot of my classes down here have older people like 45 and up, and I'm only 31 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can feel the energy in the room. And sometimes I feel like they're intimidated by looking at me because I'm like small. And I always start by saying, especially with my Hot 26 practice, I always start the class by saying, focus on you. It's okay if you cannot go all the way into the posture. The point is to find your starting point and then build upon there. Listen to your body. Pay attention to where it's tight. In every single posture, pay attention to where it's tight. Um, and also with some of the knee postures that we do, like focus on the knees. Like, do you have tight knees? Do you have loose knees? Like, you just got to focus on you. This is your practice. Don't be looking around the room, you know, focus on one point in front of you. Try to get that balance and that focus right so that you can understand the meaning of the posture.
Yes.
Because if you don't have your mind right, you're not going to pay attention to like, oh, it's tight here and it's tight there. The only thing you're going to be thinking about is like, oh, I can't go all the way down. Oh, I can't put my leg all the way out here. And I want to make sure that people listening to this podcast know that it's not about what you can't do.
Mm-mm.
Every posture, and it doesn't even matter what type of yoga you're doing. You could be doing bhakti, you could be doing ashtanga, yin, um, hey, hot 26, vinyasa. You could be doing anything. You have to come in with the focus, and you really got to pay attention to your body.
Yep.
Size does not matter.
Yeah, just an open mind. But I wanted to go back to the microaggressions that you were talking about, because that is definitely a tenet of this entire platform, and a big reason
Mm-hmm.
why I started it is because I was experiencing a lot of microaggressions in, places that I worked, and
Mm-hmm.
being the only Black person in, on the staff, I'm like, I don't like this. I know that there are plenty more of us that are teaching yoga, and I
Mm-hmm.
want there to be a space where not only I can, get to know my peers, but to also show people like we're out here doing this, and I need y'all to just, recognize that
Yeah.
they're like, we're everywhere. We're doing this. We're doing awesome at it. Here's where to find us. And then also be a place for, our community to find the
Right.
next yoga instructor. And as a, a means to see your face, hear your voice, get to know who you are. Because yeah, you may come to a yoga class and, repeatedly, like somebody could come to your yoga class every or twice to three times a week for the last year, 2 years, and they may not know you on a personal level, but they
Right.
vibe with you enough to take your class. I wanted there to also be this avenue where they get to know who you are, learn your story, so that they can understand that you've experienced a lot of the same things as they have. We're
Mm-hmm.
all coming into this from, a shared experience, and
Right.
I want those stories to be told. So in an attempt to battle these things that keep happening, I'm like, nope, we gotta nip this in the bud somewhere. And to any instructor out there that does experience this within the place that they work, know that you are capable of leaving that space and finding something better. If
Mm-hmm.
you would like to improve what's going on within that space, you have the power to do it too. Just know that it's going to take fortitude and a strong support system, because they will try to break you. And it's unfortunate to have to say that, but I'd rather
Mm-hmm.
you be armed with, the tools to fight the good fight, rather than, you know, anything that, because I damn near quit yoga because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want people to go through that. Like, if anybody can avoid it because of any experience that I had, I'll happily share that information so that you don't have to deal with it, because
Yeah.
no one should, first and foremost.
Yeah, I literally had to leave the very first place that I got my job at. I got my certification last November, November 14th of 2021. And then I got my first job at one of the best studios here in Huntsville on January 28th. Started teaching. I was teaching there for like 6, 7 months or so. And the owner's friend kept coming in and literally, like, when they would get out of the class, because I would come in while they're in class. So when they got out of class, she would say like little funny passive aggressive things like, I'll be sitting in the front, like behind the desk, and she'll be like, oh, I don't feel comfortable talking in here and let's go outside or something like that. And I'm like, why? Like, in my head, I'm like, why? Like, she's only saying that because I'm sitting here, and I was the only Black girl teaching yoga at the studio. So it's like, why? Like, what? And then I just ended up ending my contract and just going somewhere else because that's not what yoga is about. Like, she's not here for the right reason. She knows what she's doing. She's like, I mean, I kind of feel like it was like a low key undercover passive aggressive Karen, in a way.
Sometimes, like, I don't even know if sometimes they realize that the Karen is, internal. Like, it's always there. Like, it's not like a personality type. It's coded.
Exactly. And this is another reason why I say that like a lot of people go into yoga with the wrong intention because a Karen should not be doing yoga because yoga does not in line with what Karen people do. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to put that out there too. Like if there is a Karen, like, in your studio or like trying to come to your class and stuff, be aware of that energy because it literally will shift the room if you let it.
Yeah. And what's funny on an ironic note is that folks that are like that probably need the yoga the most because they have no idea where that thing is rooted from or why they respond certain ways. Because I kind of when I mentioned about how I didn't know why I did certain things the way that I did before yoga, it took yoga for me to understand that. So I'm like, maybe you need more of it.
Right. That's a high possibility.
Yeah, like, because I don't know if you know yourself well enough to understand where that reaction is coming from, why you think these things, why you believe these things, why you act this way, why you do this and that.
Exactly. And you just said it. They don't know themselves. That's why they're doing what they're doing. And then along with that thought process, they wonder why crazy stuff keep happening in their life because they're manifesting that energy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Same
Yep.
thing.
Law of attraction is real.
It really is. And it's everywhere. It's in everything you do. It's in your energy. It's in your thoughts. It's in your words. It's in how you feel about yourself. Like it's in everything.
Yeah. So to see a little bit into the future, where do you see yourself within the yoga or within the yoga world? I'm not even going to put a time limit on it. Just where do you see yourself going with all this?
Well, I kind of already mapped out a path. So
how Aries of you.
I play with my planning. But no, next year I do plan on attempting to get my studio. I do plan on manifesting that to me because I'm in the perfect position when it comes to like paying off my card and like using it for like positive things instead of like going on a shopping spree. So I plan on having that like mid next year, and then hiring a few teachers within that first year, sink or swim phase, and hopefully like hiring Black teachers that's in the industry to give them even more of a chance in a better place to teach because most Black people don't really have that many places to teach or don't know how to find it. So I plan on having that up and running, and I definitely want to do a lot of collabs. My dad is actually, well, he's getting a new travel trailer. So I'm thinking about getting on the road and like, kind of like going to different places and collabing with other studios. And like, maybe like once a month I'll pop up and be like, hey, what's up? Let's do a workshop together or something and especially like going down to Birmingham because I heard that the yoga industry in the Black community is popping in Birmingham, Alabama. Like everybody loves yoga in Birmingham. So and it's literally like with the way that I drive, it's like a 45-minute drive. So I kind of want to travel around a little bit and like literally like get super involved and probably do workshops and learning things. Like,
Yeah. So who is our friend that just joined us?
This is Gypsy.
Say it again.
Jinxie.
Oh, hi, little baby. Such a cute cat. Oh my goodness.
She has been my rock. And I also got her when I started my yoga journey as well, because I've always had a thing for cats too. I paid $150 for her.
Ah, she's your familiar.
I
Mm-hmm.
resonate towards cats, and she just wants to be rubbed right now. So,
Oh,
yes,
gotta love the babies. Gotta love the babies.
always. She's been my little rock. Even when, like, sometimes when I feel discouraged or if I'm feeling down because of whatever happened within my week or whatever, like, she knows. And, like, she'll literally come and, like, lick me and, play with me and, try to keep my energy up. So she's very high frequency.
Oh, God, I love it. I love it. Man, that makes me miss my little guy. He was very much like that. I had a little poodle, and
Oh, poodles are cute.
gosh, he was adorable, but he was very in tune. And whenever I was having some rough times, he'd give me a look. He had this little side eye. He was very expressive with his face, so it was either a side eye of "bitch, what the fuck you doing," or like "bitch, you all right? You need
Right.
some help? Okay, let me come get you."
Yes. Gotta love it.
The animals, they know they're tuned in, and I wish that we were that tuned in just innately, and I think we are. It's just that there's a certain level of, I'm gonna say it, there's a certain level of trauma that happens to us in childhood that
Hmm.
erases that ability for us to really connect.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this documentary about quantum physics. The
Mm-hmm.
modern day quantum physics is literally the law of attraction that's like
Mm-hmm.
bringing us back in tune with like Mother Nature, being outside, and things of that nature. So, and I also, during my journey, I want to say that, like, I discovered my spiritual belief because, I don't know if it's going on where you are, but down here, a lot of people are leaving the church and they're getting into non religious spirituality.
Girl, I think that's nationwide.
Yes. And I think that's a beautiful thing because it's literally making people wake up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me wake up just through the practice of yoga. And I discovered that I am a pantheist, which is a believer of energy. That's all it is,
Yep.
which is also in tune with the law of attraction and quantum physics when it comes to science. So that non religious belief is backed up by science, you
Yes.
know? And that's why it's like, I firmly believe in it. I firmly believe in it.
Same. I had my questions about organized religion as a young child. Um, but it wasn't until I got to maybe like high school when I was really just like, I'm just totally not going to participate for a while. And then I
Hmm.
tried it again in college just because I was looking for something in college.
Hmm.
College was really hard for me. Um, and I felt like I could find a little bit more community within some of the friends that I made. Um, but it still just drew up more questions than I got answers.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't expect there to be an answer for everything. But the things that I do have questions about, there should be some type of answer that can make sense to me. And none of it
Right.
was. And it wasn't until I realized in later in college, I took a world religions class. I'm like, oh gosh, there's so much more out here. And all of y'all, well, not all of y'all, but a vast majority of y'all are listening to the same story translated in different ways. Like,
Exactly.
and the fact that there's so much turmoil over what religion you practice and, whatever, things may happen within it. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, but we're all here with questions about everything, just like the next person. Why do
Right.
we need to fight over this? Why do we need to do any of this? And why don't we see that all of this is just a story that we made up to try to explain energy?
Exactly. Because I don't like all of religion is man made. Religion is man made. but spirituality has always been here. I mean, like, look at space. Like, can like a man or whatever person did not create a black hole. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just some things that's not explainable, and sometimes, like, I feel like there's some things that we're not supposed to understand. And
Yeah.
along with that, like, with your yoga journey, and then also with like personal development and all of that, you literally like have to ask yourself, like, what is your purpose in life? And I figured out what mine is, and it's pretty simple. Like, a lot of people think that your purpose is supposed to be like dramatic and stuff. No, it's simple. My purpose, my personal purpose in life that I came to the conclusion with, that makes me feel uh worthy and at a high vibration, and it makes me feel good about everything that I do in life, is that I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. So my purpose is to live my life as fulfilled and happy as possible.
Hmm.
And you get to control that by things, by what you do, the boundaries that you set, the people that you're around, the environments that you're in, your awareness, and things of that nature. So I definitely believe that it's super, super important to understand, like, what your personal purpose is. Like, everybody's purpose is different, but then again, if it makes sense to you and it brings you to a high frequency so that you can exude that energy to onto other people and attract what you want to you and manifest a nice house and a nice car and lots of money and all that stuff, like, your energy does that, you know so all of it is literally connected, you know
Yeah.
and I think that's a lot. I think that's one of the reasons why people are leaving the church, because
Yeah.
the church doesn't really give you that. Because, like, if you can't explain something, the answer that I always get from a Christian or any other religious person is that, oh, God don't make mistakes, God know what He's doing. And I'm like, okay, that's not an answer though. Like,
I was like, okay, I understand that, but what am I supposed to do in the meantime?
exactly, there's no path here.
Yeah, like I still have to do some type of action in order for this to happen. It's just not some, miraculous thing that just happens. It's your actions make an or affect change in that energy as well, along with your thoughts, projecting you on the right path.
Exactly. It's all about the intention and how much energy you put into that intention. That's exactly the way that you manifest. That's the law of attraction. And that's also something that people, like, if people still, believe in, like, witches and stuff, that witchcraft is basically law of attraction. Like, that's all they do. The only difference is that the law of attraction doesn't really have a ritual, but witchcraft kind of does. And then it
Yeah.
also matters on what type of witchcraft you're doing. So let
Mm-hmm.
me just throw that in there too.
Again, it's all energy manipulation, ways to manipulate and interpret energy.
Exactly. And you really have to know yourself in order to do that. Because if you don't know yourself fully, then it's going to be hard to do that. And then you wonder why, like, you've been hoping and hoping and praying for certain stuff and it's not coming. It's because your energy and the frequency of your intent isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also got to put in the efforts too. Like, you can't just like pray for something and then it just comes. Like, you actually really have to make the effort to go towards it as well, so you can attract it like a magnet.
Yes, because otherwise that would just mean that all of this is like we've all got our own personal genie lamp and rub it and get our three wishes. But that's not how it works. That's not how it
Exactly.
works at all.
Exactly.
Good stuff.
Is it going to be far fetched if I said, like, a controversial thing?
Well, let's see what's the gist of it.
Okay, so you know how, like, cults are bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start with that. Okay, so for me personally, I kind of feel like religion is like the good side of a cult. It's like the positive
I'm not
side of
even
a
gonna
cult.
front. I have felt like that a few times. It's like, I'm just supposed to blindly follow what this man is saying. I mean, up on this
Right.
pulpit. No,
Like,
I
what
don't.
if they're lying?
Like, I don't know
Like,
you, and even if I do know you, you don't know me like that. I only see you on Sundays.
exactly, right? I mean, like, can you really trust, like, you know, Do you really want to give all your energy into something that you really don't know is true? And then it's also like, because religion is created by man, like what
There's the
type
critical
of
mind. Yeah.
yeah, like what type of hindsight situation is going there? Like, is it kind of like the school system that is like that you go to school and you're taught to be cooperative, you're taught to be a team player, you're not really taught to like find what you really like.
No.
You're supposed to be like a slave to government in a way, which is kind of the way that I feel like religion is. It's like, okay, well, if you are weak minded, then you'll stick with what this book is saying and then disregard like the other questions that doesn't really give off too many answers. And like you're supposed to question stuff, and I feel like religion forces you to not question stuff because they want you to believe that it's like actually accurate and correct, even though there's like holes in the story. And then some of the books aren't even in the Bible. Like it's like handpicked. It's like, who's picking this? you know
And that's one of the things I appreciate the most about yoga is that it encourages you to be inquisitive. It
yes.
encourages you to ask the questions and seek the answers yourself. Like it's not necessarily that anything's just going to be given to you. It's that you discover what it is that you're wanting to know, and you come across either you come upon it by manifesting it,
Mm-hmm.
or you do your own work, which is still part of the manifestation process. So
Exactly.
I've always felt a little bit more aligned to, this practice to help me with understanding life purpose. Because I
Yes.
mean, none of us know. None of us will ever truly know why, on a grander scale, humans exist in this particular world,
Yeah.
doing the things that we do. We're likely never going to have that answer. And I'm okay with that. I just don't know if everyone else is. And
Exactly. And
I think,
I feel like a lot of people aren't, but then again, they need something to believe in to keep them going.
yeah, which I get. I totally get. Because, like, when you have that realization of how you're likely never going to get an actual answer to that specific question, it makes it difficult to, like, well, then why bother doing all of this?
Exactly.
Well, because I mean, you still got the time here anyway, so you may as well do something.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I mean, yes, we're all, guaranteed a ticket out of this life, because we don't live forever, on a physical level. Um, but your spirit still lives on. You're likely gonna come back anyway and just do this shit all over again.
Yep.
So get what you can out of this body that you're in now. Have the
Mm-hmm.
experiences, live the life, do the things. You don't have to understand it all. Just experience.
Exactly. Life, that's what life is in general. It's just a bunch of experiences, and you get to choose if that experience is positive or negative. And that's why you got to be very careful about who you choose to be friends with. Like how much information that you give to your friends. Like are they really friends? Or like you have to understand like you can't just put yourself in any environment. And I'm not just saying that as a woman. I'm just saying that for like anybody out here. Like
No, absolutely.
you really got to be picky. And a lot of people today say that like, oh, you picky, you need to be more open minded. No, me being picky is me being open minded. Like
Yes. And I wouldn't even say it's being picky, it's just being mindful.
yeah.
Like being mindful is and aware of the energy around you is all a part of the practice too.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, you're just embodying the yoga even more.
Yeah, and that's the biggest and most important thing about making sure that you establish your morals, your boundaries, your standards, like how like what you are willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. I get so sad when I hear all these stories about girls and dudes staying in a relationship because of X, because of this, because of that. It's like no, like that's unhealthy. Like you're putting yourself in like a mental prison at that point. And then how are you going to grow if you're around energy that makes you feel low?
Yep.
But that's only if you want to grow, though.
and
That's a chance
it
too.
takes time to build that acceptance of all of those things, because first of all, like, there's so many steps to it, because there's the awareness of it, there's either trying to reconcile it or fix it, and then there's the acceptance of, what's not everything is for me.
Exactly.
This may be one of those things. And I mean, that's a practice that I'm constantly in with every phase of life. And because it happens so often in any type of relationship, whether it's romantic, friendship, work,
Hmm.
you know,
Family.
yeah, any of these things. If it's not working in a way that you feel good and that you can feel, yourself thriving and energized, you might have to let it go.
Yeah, and like I'm just gonna say this, like, everybody says that like family is everything and blood is thicker than water, but not all blood mix. You can ask the doctor about that. Like on my journey, I had to cut off my dad. I had to distance myself from my mom because my dad is narcissistic and my mom she's kind of ditzy, like a little bit, you know. And she just kind of like does whatever he says, like, and she doesn't really have a backbone, really. And then I'm number six out of all my siblings, and like, not talking down about my family or anything, but like, even at my lowest, I'm still doing better than them when it comes to just life in general. Like, like, I'm the only one that doesn't live at home. Like, and these people are older than me. And it's like, okay, like, that's not what when I look at it, I'm like, okay, I know these people are my family, but they're not going anywhere. Like, they're not actively, like, putting in the effort to make something out of themselves.
Yeah.
So, like, you just got to distance yourself from that type of stuff, even if it is family, because, like, that can be detrimental to your future as well. You can still love your family, but you can also love them from a distance, send them a Facebook, message every now and then, letting them know you alive. But then again, like, hanging out and like giving my energy and staying quiet when somebody makes like an insulting comment, or because like there's that respect factor with when it comes to
Hmm.
like older people.
Yeah.
And my dad, not necessarily my mom, she's a sweetheart to be honest, but my dad, like, he with his narcissistic ways, like, he always trying to find a way to put you down, especially like if you are get excited about something. Like, he didn't even come to my college graduation, and I'm number six out of our siblings, and I'm the only one that has a college degree, and he didn't even come. So I'm thinking, like, okay, like, that was the end of the line for me, like,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't have never been able to go on this journey and be a healthier, better person without, cutting certain people off, especially friends too. Like, just starting over.
I
It's hard.
appreciate it. You activated the Aries rage because that pissed me off. I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that.
Oh, thank you. I'm good. I'm strong. I'm a survivor. I keep going.
Same, same. Mine didn't attend my college graduation either. But I
Wow.
also did not invite him for very, very specific reasons. So, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to show up anyway. Like, it was a good 3.5 hours away from where he is. I'm like, I don't even know how we would have managed to get there in the first place. But yeah, since we're getting close to the end of this, I wanted to ask you really quick because it's something I asked previously when this was an Instagram live thing. But what advice would you give to practitioners that are beginning yoga and also teacher or students that are transitioning into teacher for the first time? So two-part
Okay.
question.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the second part first. So, students that's transitioning into practitioners. Okay, you're gonna be scared because when you're gonna be excited first when you get to teacher training. It's gonna be amazing. Like, you're gonna love it. Like, it's gonna be everything that you were looking for or are looking for. But then again, because you have not taught a class and you actually have to like test out when it comes to those last few days, you're going to be scared, and that's okay. That's normal. I was terrified. Okay. So that's normal. And it's okay if you mess up. It's okay if you mess up. Just keep going, you know. And once you get through it, the first few times that you do it, you will be fine. So don't shy away from it. Don't run from it. It's growth, because when you are scared the most, that's when you're supposed to do what you need to do. That's growth. And also, like, if you went in, if you're going in and you don't feel crazy confident about it, or if you don't even have the intention to teach, but you just want to learn more about yoga, because some of the people in my teacher training just went just to gain more knowledge, that's okay too. You actually don't have to teach. You can just learn, but you still have to test out. So you're still going to go through the sequence. So again, it's going to be scary, but don't feel like you have to, that you're like forced to do anything. It's okay. Being uncomfortable is a sign of growth. Don't shy away from it. Just tackle it. And the first one was what again?
To people looking to begin a yoga practice.
People looking to begin a yoga practice. Okay, so with that, I would say it's okay if you go to a class that you think that you might like and you end up not liking it. It's okay. There's several different types of yoga that you can try. The biggest goal for you starting a practice is to try a lot of different yoga practices, like Hot 26, Vinyasa, Ashtanga. Try all of it and find out what resonates with you personally, not what your friend like, what you like.
Yes.
And then build from there. Because once you find it and it resonates with you, you're going to know. There's something that will ignite in your body and in your mind that will make you know that this is the practice for you, and then build from there.
Yeah. And I would even go as far as saying not only finding the type of yoga that works for you, but the teacher that works for you too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's important too, because not all teachers are the same and they're not supposed to. Some teachers teach towards breath work and some teachers teach towards alignment. Me personally, I teach towards alignment instead of breath work, but I do still say to like breathe, like never hold your breath. But you know, there's going to be different teachers out there. There's going to be teachers that teach slow, and then there's going to be some that's fast. There's going to be some teachers that don't even use music, and that's okay too.
Yep.
And also, when it comes to like teachers coming, going into teacher training, don't be afraid of the playlist. Like, find the playlist that works
Have
for you.
fun. Yes.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is one of my favorite parts of class preparation is making a playlist.
Yes, I love my playlist. Sometimes I meditate to it at night in bed. It's just that good.
Yes, and like just find the music that fits the vibe that you want to provide.
Exactly. And you'll know because you'll feel it.
Yeah.
Like, music is also energy. So like, when you find it, you'll feel it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I wanted to tack on something with what you said to students becoming teachers, and it was the embracing being nervous and scared, because it's likely going to be that you're nervous every time. I've been teaching for almost 8 years now, and I have never not felt nervous before teaching any class.
Really?
Any class, because
Wow.
I'm always just I'm very concerned with providing the right vibe. I want to make sure that I do a good job for everybody. I want them to be able to, leave with something that they didn't have when they walked in.
Yeah.
So it's just it comes from a place of care, not necessarily that I'm petrified of teaching. It's just that I'm concerned that they actually are going to get something out of this today. Like, it's going to transmute itself. That nervous energy is going to be there, but it's going to
Hmm.
be for different reasons, and it's okay. That means that you're alive and in it. Like, you care about this and you want to provide something that's good for people.
Exactly.
But all of this will become so much easier with experience. So just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going, keep doing it. And just embrace that the feelings are there. The fact that you have feelings means that you're alive.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
and
all there is.
and you know what? I do want to say that like when I first started out, I used to mess up all the time, like in
Still
my
do.
class. And like it's gotten to a point where like I just know exactly what I'm doing now. So like I'm just purely confident. But then again, it's okay to mess up while you have people in the class. Just keep going.
Yep. I get tongue tied all the time. My playlist will be on accidental shuffle or something. Like something is always gonna happen, and it's just that's fine. That's life. But make it part of the practice. Make it part of a lesson that you're teaching to everyone. Like, hey, look, life just happened to me right in the middle of this thing, and did it phase me? No. I mean, internally, maybe, but I'm not gonna say that out in the world. I was like, we're still all here. We're still all alive. We're still, healthy, well, and doing as best we can. And just keep pushing.
Exactly.
Turn it into a lesson. Well, Renee, this has been absolutely breathtakingly refreshing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day for this, and for the last minute response to everything too. I really appreciate your ability to be available.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to even be chosen to be on the last episode of the first season. So thank you for that.
Thank you for being a part of the family. Also, before we go, tell us where we can find you. Social media, website, location, all that stuff.
Yes, so I am in Huntsville, Alabama. My Instagram is Renee Lucas to Yoga Vixen. And my TikTok that I just created, I'm just now on TikTok, is also Renee Lucas to Yoga Vixen. Did I say my website?
Oh, no, you did not.
Oh my gosh. My website is tranquilyogastudio.com.
Awesome. And that'll all be in the show notes for you guys to check out. I don't know for sure. Why do I keep lying? I know when season 2 is coming. I'm just not ready to tell y'all yet. So thank you for joining in on this first season of Yoga in Black. I am extremely, extremely honored to be able to provide this for everyone. And thank you to Renee and everyone that has been a part of this. You guys have just made the last, 8 weeks or 4 weeks just so amazing. And I cannot wait until the world gets to absorb this. So thank you, everyone, so very much. Renee, endless gratitude to you. Great luck to you on everything that you have coming your way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this first season of the Yoga in Black podcast. We'll return for season 2 in early 2023. You can stay in touch at www.yogainblack.net or the Yoga in Black podcast on YouTube or on Instagram at yoga.inblack. Once again, thank you so much for making this podcast possible. See you in 2023.